The most dangerous weapon in history is not the sword, nor the missile, nor the bomb. The most dangerous weapon is convincing your enemy that you cannot be defeated, because a person does not lose the battle only when he is killed, but he may lose it before it even begins, when a single conviction is planted inside him. This opponent is too great to be faced. And from the moment you believe you are up against an invincible force, every defeat after that becomes just a detail. I am Mohammed, and this is Hamza Podcast. And that's why, my dear, every great empire in history created an aura of terror around itself. Pharaoh did not just possess an army, but he also possessed a mental image that said, "Is not the kingdom of Egypt and Persia mine?" And Rome was not just a state, but rather a symbol of power that people believed to be eternal. And Abraha did not just carry an army, but he brought elephant after elephant. It was a psychological message before it was a military weapon. But then came a surah of only 5 verses that shattered this illusion forever, because the Qur'an did not begin Surah Al-Fil by talking about the elephant, nor about the size of the army, nor about Abraha, nor even about the birds, but rather began with a question that shakes the way you see all of history. Have you not seen how your Lord dealt with the companions of the elephant? Reflect with me, my dear friend. Did the Prophet, peace be upon him, witness the incident of the elephant with his own eyes? No. For the Prophet, peace be upon him, was born in that very same year, the year of the elephant. So why did Allah say, "Have you not seen?" and not say, "Have you not learned?" Here comes one of the greatest indications in the surah. For Al-Tabari and other scholars of interpretation maintain that what is meant here is not merely seeing with the eyes, but rather seeing with insight and reflection. It is as if the Qur'an is telling you, my dear friend, that there are events you do not need to witness with your own eyes in order to believe in them. Because when the news comes from Allah, it carries the same weight as direct witnessing and certainty. And for this reason, the problem was never about the elephant. The problem was with the eye that sees the elephant. Do you see only its size, or do you see what is above it? Do you see the power of the means, or do you see the one who controls the means? The author of In the Shade of the Qur'an says about Surah Al-Fil in its profound meaning that it is the confrontation between material arrogance and faith, because the problem was not with the elephant itself, but with the meaning that the elephant carried. Every tyrant in history had an elephant, something that made people look at him and say, "He cannot be defeated." In the Arabian Peninsula, the elephant was not just a large animal. It was a psychological event. It was a military technology unfamiliar to the Arabs. Imagine the scene, my dear. A massive army bristling with weapons, and behind it an elephant they had never seen before, passing through tribes and villages, with people coming out to look at it in awe and fear even before the battle began. The psychological battle had already started, and this is always the genius of tyrants. They are never satisfied with just possessing power, but they want to reside inside people's minds. And today, the elephant may not be an animal. It could be a missile you do not possess. It could be a massive economy that makes you feel powerless. It could be media that shapes your view of the world as they wish. It could be an algorithm that controls what you see, what you fear, and what you think about. It could be any idea that tries to convince you that a person has no value except within a certain system. The form of the elephant changes, my dear, but the function remains the same, to create psychological paralysis. That is why the Quran does not come first to destroy the elephant outside the person, but rather to destroy the elephant within the person, to free the heart from the bondage of causes. Reflect on the precision of the Quranic expression. The action of your Lord, it did not say such and such happened, nor did it say the army of Abraha was defeated, but rather it attributed the action to God, your Lord, the Exalted. And here, my dear, is a profound message the one who created the laws is not bound by them. Humans live within the world of causes. To build a state, you need resources. To win a war, you need an army. To defeat an enemy, you need strength. But God, the Lord of causes, conducts matters through causes when He wills, and conducts them contrary to what people are accustomed to when He wills. This is why the story of Abraha remains an everlasting example. He was not an ordinary man. He was the embodiment of an imperial project. Abyssinia occupied Yemen, and he wanted to shift the center of power in the Arabian Peninsula. So he built Al-Qulis, a massive church in Sana'a. His goal was not merely to build a place of worship. Rather, he wanted to create a new center to which hearts would turn, as well as trade and activity. Then, when his project failed, he decided to destroy the Kaaba. He gathered a massive army and marched toward Mecca, seeking help from those who could guide him along the way. This is where the name Abu Rigal emerged, which has remained in Arab memory as a symbol of someone who sells out his nation's path to those who fight against it. And when Abraha arrived in Mecca, he seized Abdul Muttalib's camels. So Abdul Muttalib went to him, and Abraha was impressed by his presence. But he was surprised when Abdul Muttalib only asked for his camels back and said to him, "I am astonished by you. You have come to destroy the house, which is your religion and the religion of your forefathers, and you speak to me about 200 camels." So Abdul Muttalib said the words that summed up the philosophy of the surah: "I am the Lord of the camels, and the house has a Lord who will protect it." Abdul Muttalib had neither an army nor weapons nor a military plan. But he knew that there comes a moment when human calculations end and God's plan appears. And here, my dear friend, we arrive at the question that opens a new door for us to understand the surah. Why didn't God destroy Abraha's army in a way that matched the magnitude of his power? Why didn't he send down an earthquake to shake the ground beneath their feet? Why didn't a thunderbolt come down upon them from the sky? Why didn't God send an army greater than theirs? That could have happened, but God chose a completely different scene. He chose birds, creatures small in the eyes of people, and he sent against them flocks of birds. And he chose small stones of baked clay, a material incomparable to the size of shields, swords, and elephants. And here, my dear, the precision of the message becomes clear. God did not only want to defeat the army, but he wanted to destroy the idea that the army represented. If Abraha had been defeated by a larger army, people would have said that one force overcame another, and a stronger weapon defeated a weaker one. But God wanted to uproot this illusion from its very roots. He wanted to say that the issue is not about who possesses the greater power, but about who possesses all authority. And for this reason, my dear, victory came from a place no one expected, from the sky, not from the earth, from tiny creatures, not from massive armies, from small stones, not from mighty weapons. And this is the moral disgrace that scholars have referred to in the meaning of the surah. The destruction was not simply the death of an army, but the collapse of the image of power that he had built around himself. And Al-Tabari relates in the story of the people of the elephant that the elephant with them, which was called Mahmud, whenever it was directed toward the Kaaba, it knelt down and sat, refusing to advance. But whenever it was directed elsewhere, it moved quickly. The lesson here is not just in the elephant, but in the entire scene. An animal without reason stopped before God's command, while an entire army with its intellect, plans, and arrogance did not stop. And here, the message of the Qur'an is repeated. A person may see things in their material size, but God shows him their true reality. Then came the end. He made them like chewed up straw. Reflect, my dear friend, on the Quranic imagery. Asf refers to the remnants of crops and straw, the things that animals eat, which are then left crushed and scattered worthless. What a transformation this is. Just days before, an army filled the desert. elephants that terrified the tribes, an empire that felt it had come to change history, then in a moment all of that turns into scattered remains. And this, my dear friend, is the message of the surah. Every power that separates itself from the truth may appear great on the outside, but its reality, when it falls, is smaller than people imagined. But be careful, my dear friend. There is a major mistake that some might make when understanding Surah Al-Fil. Some might think that the message is to sit and wait for the birds of Ababil. But the Qur'an does not build a nation in this way. Surah Al-Fil did not come to create people who wait for miracles, but rather to create people who do not submit to fear. That is why it came after Surah Al-Kafirun in the order of the Meccan revelation. Surah Al-Kafirun was building resistance to assimilation. It was teaching the small group of believers not to dissolve into the prevailing culture, not to lose your identity just because power is with others, and not to let the majority of others become the standard for truth. It was building a solid core, like a snowball, that starts small but is extremely cohesive. And this, my dear, is exactly what the Prophet, peace be upon him, did in Mecca. He did not start by building an army, but by building a human being. He used to sit in the house of Al-Arqam with a small group, but it was a tightly knit group of faith, and then this small nucleus turned into a nation that changed the course of history. And years later, the scene was set at Al-Qadisiyah. But this time, my dear, the enemy was not Abyssinian. It was the Persian Empire, and they also had elephants with them. Huge elephants that tore through the ranks of the Muslims and terrified the horses. But there was a great difference. In the year of the elephant, help came directly from the heavens, whereas at Al-Qadisiyah, help came through the hands of the believers. No, my dear, there were no Ababil birds sent down. Rather, the believers themselves became the instruments of victory that God empowered. The Muslims focused on the lead elephant, the white elephant, for if the leader fell, the rest of the elephants would become confused. So the elephant went wild and turned back against the Persian army itself, and the path to victory was opened. Here we understand an important principle. God grants victory to his servants, but he does not absolve them of responsibility. Sometimes he sends birds, and other times he sends a believing man with a sword, for divine support does not descend upon those who sit idly, but upon those who take action while relying on the one who causes all things to happen. But my dear, there is a deeper layer to the story. Abraha did not just want to bring down stones. The problem was not with the building itself, but with the center. Because whoever controls the center controls the direction of movement. For the Arabs, the Kaaba was not just a building, it was a spiritual, social, and economic center. And Abraha wanted to transfer this center to Al-Qulis. He wanted to change the direction of people's hearts. And that is why it was a battle of meaning, not of stone. But God protected the house. Not because the stones themselves needed protection, but because this house is connected to a message that will change the world. And that is why there is this remarkable connection between Surah Al-Fil and Surah Quraysh. After saying, "Have you not seen how your Lord dealt with the companions of the elephant?" He then said, "For the security of Quraysh, their security in the journeys of winter and summer, so let them worship the Lord of this house." Why? Because the Quran teaches them that before it asks you to fulfill an obligation, it reminds you of the blessing. I am the one who protected you, and I am the one who fed you, and I am the one who granted you security. So the result is, let them worship the Lord of this house. But the greater scene is that the incident of the elephant was a prelude to the birth of a new era in history. In the same year that Abraha's army came to destroy the house, a fatherless child was born in Mecca. People saw a mighty army, but the heavens were preparing for the birth of a messenger who would change the course of history. Abraha wanted to destroy the center of the message, but God was preparing the place for the birth of the messenger himself. Where is Abraha today? Where is his army? Where are his elephants? The names that people thought would last forever have disappeared. But a chapter of just 5 verses remains recited, and the name of Muhammad, peace be upon him, continues to be raised in the call to prayer all over the world. So, my dear, Surah Al-Fil is not just a story that happened more than 1400 years ago, nor is it simply a tale of an army that came, birds that descended, and then everything ended. Surah Al-Fil is a law that explains to you how power works in this world, and how empires fall when their power turns into arrogance, and how the smallest of causes can become greater than the mightiest of forces if God is behind them. Who was defeated first? Was Abraha's army defeated when it fell? Or was it the idea he represented that was defeated? For the elephant was not just an animal, it was a symbol of everything that makes a person forget that above all causes is their causer. A symbol of every power that makes you say nothing can change, that truth can never prevail, that reality can never be transformed. And for this reason, my dear, the real question that Surah Al-Fil puts before you today is not how God destroyed Abraha, but rather, what is the elephant that frightens me? What is the power that made me feel it is greater than God's ability? Is it fear for my livelihood? Is it an unknown future? Is it a human system that I think is stronger than everything else? Is it a media machine that creates in me a sense of helplessness? Is it a reality that has convinced me that change is impossible? Always remember, my dear, that causes have their weight, but they are not gods. We make use of them, but we do not worship them. We respect the laws of life, but we do not imprison God's power within our limited understanding. Because God made birds defeat the elephant, He may make a single word defeat an empire. He may make a single man carrying a message change the entire history of humanity. So, my dear, do not look only at the size of the elephant. Look at the one who owns the elephant. And do not look only at the strength of the opponent. Look at the power of the one who holds all matters in his hand. Because the greatest truth revealed by Surah Al-Fil is that any power not supported by God may appear gigantic in the eyes of people, but in the scale of truth it is nothing but devoured straw. Peace.